Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and
Well,
you're watching AccessTV.org. And welcome to Politics and Everything, because we know all politics is local, and every decision in Hartford is a political decision. If you didn't know, now you know. Welcome, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and this Facebook Live series, joining me, J.C. McCauley, mayoral candidate here in the city of Hartford, and we have been breaking down his 6-point plan, reimagining or reprioritizing city priorities is the plan, and it's the path to impact, which can be found on McCauleyformayor.com. But what we're doing is just going point by point, taking a look at this plan and why it's necessary in order to move Hartford forward. So if you're interested in that conversation, you've come to the right place. And today's episode, we're going to look at economic and community development. So let's get into it. Let's get started. Get your questions. Bring those along with you for this journey as we talk about why this particular priority is important for Hartford. So Jay Stan, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well indeed. Very well.
All right. So the 6-point plan, point 5, economic and community development. Lots to say in that topic. It usually comes up as a talking point on political campaigns because it's a thing, right? Economics, how your city sort of looks at the economy and what that means for a city, the importance of that. So this one is sort of like not passe, but it's like it gets talked about a lot. So what are you bringing to this conversation? What are you bringing? How do you make this conversation come alive where it may be like, everybody talks about economic and community development. What's your 30,000 foot level sort of like hit on this topic right here?
Well, I guess my 30,000 foot commentary would be, when people say economic development, what's the plan? Like, what's the plan? So when you hear candidates running for office say, crime, education, and jobs, well, what is your plan to bring jobs in? What is your plan for economic development? And how do we get there? And so part of our realigning the priorities of Hartford, our 6-point plan, is our 5th priority, which is, of course, community and economic development, or economic and community development. Because when you talk about getting more out of the economy, more productivity, so that you could have more profit, what is it that one is considering to be profit? Like, what's the profit margin? Is it just simply dollars and cents, or is it better quality of life? Yesterday we were talking about public safety, and part of that public safety is a better quality of life. But if you think of it in the community having an economic engine and a means by which it can become more productive, if you start off with someone who earns nothing and they earn $50 a week, they've already added to the capacity to be more economically viable. Hartford's a very, very poor city. It is said, depending upon the data that you look at, that it's either the 4th or the 7th poorest city of its size in the country. So there's a lot of poverty in Hartford, and that poverty has to be attacked. Now, that's not to suggest that there isn't a lot of money in Hartford, because there's plenty of money. It's just not with the people. So hundreds of millions of dollars flow through Hartford every year. And the Wizards of Smart are always trying to find ways to bring more of that money in and become more profitable. Now, there are some legitimate concerns that Hartford has, such as our grand list, which is where we get our taxes from. But in my mind, if you want to really develop the economy of Hartford, you have to develop the people of Hartford. Because the people of Hartford are what matters most, because that is the neighborhood for the people who live here. Just like any other surrounding suburbs, they're concerned about the quality of life and their neighborhood, their neighbors. Well, that doesn't change simply because you're in Hartford. If you develop those areas that are impacted by poverty, by pushing back poverty, you will increase the economic capacity of the people who are there, who live there. They are what's necessary in order to make more money. So you talk about jobs. Well, when we talk about bringing jobs to Hartford, who are you bringing jobs to Hartford for? People who don't live here who will move here because the jobs are here? Or jobs for the people who are here who don't have the opportunity to work in places that they would like to work? Sometimes those places aren't here, and other times the places that are here, they may not be qualified for. So what if you reached out and got companies to come to Hartford who have a different vision, social entrepreneurs, who want to see communities grow and change more than they are interested in making hundreds of billions of dollars in profit? They're investing in communities, they're investing in people, in the human potential. All right. So you need a hybrid of that. And there are several ways that you can go about doing that. And just like our 5-point plan or our 6-point plan is designed to work, all at once, right? They work concurrent. They work at the same time. It's not like get done 1, then we move to 2, then we move to 3, 4, and 5, and then 6. No, we work on all of them at once. And so part of that is to lay down the groundwork for the success to happen. That's why I say, what's the plan? We need jobs. We got to bring companies. Well, what's your plan to do that? Because if you don't have schools that are better, you're not going to bring jobs here. If you can't show someone not only is the school better, but it's on track to get better, and here's why, you're going to have a hard time convincing people to come. If you have a community impacted by poverty where people can't read,
right?
If, depending upon the data, 41 to 61% of the adults in Hartford are functionally illiterate, what does that say to a company that wants to bring, move some of its resources here to make a profit? So there's a lot of things we have to attack. We have to attack something that we talked a little bit about in our 4th episode when we talk about public safety, the mental health. You also have to talk about the literacy gap that is in Hartford. And I'm talking about English. All right, never mind the fact that Hartford's an international city. It's a multilingual city. A lot of people think it's Spanish and English. No. There's 76 different ethnic groups here. There's a lot of languages spoken here. The primary language, though, the number one language is Spanish. And in terms of languages spoken in the city. But people have to be able to read in order to be able to be contributors to the workforce. And once again, a long drawn out way to lay down the foundation for the conversation. One of the bullets that we talk about is our neighborhood revitalization zones.
Yeah.
We have what they call here, they have NRZs. And depending upon what conversation you have with certain individuals, there are either too many of them or there's not enough. Now, I've not heard too many make the argument that there aren't enough of them. But there are a lot of people who think there are just too many NRZs. And the number of them causes for dysfunction because it divides and then conquers. All right. But what if the ones that were here remain and they were fully functional? They had the resources to be functional and deliver. Because some NRZs are better than others. They have more resources than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some NRZs actually have staff who are compensated.
Yeah.
So it's not a wonder that they are more proactive, coordinated with a vision. Well, since they are a vital part to our economic development and economic survival and revitalization here in Hartford, then the city needs to support them in a way that they haven't supported them in the past. With the McCauley administration, they will get full support. They will be held accountable, but they'll get full support. And to me, the accountability is the deliverable. I like the saying. We're not paying for service. We're paying for a deliverable.
Right.
All right, so there will be deliverables. And that would be the number one, or the first thing that we talk about. Strengthening neighborhood revitalization zones. And if people go to the website, they can see, the approach and why we want to do that. And, McCauleyformayor.com. Scroll down and you'll see the 6-point plans. And you can touch on any one of the points. And of course, we're talking about economic and community development today. But I'll just pull out the last sentence there. I will take them off of life support, which is what I think they're on, and use this well-established vehicle by empowering the NRZs with staff so that they can function much like city commissions.
So I think this makes a lot of sense, and it is a you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Mm-mm. You just have to nurture it and support it. But talk a little bit about how the NRZ functions in relation to community development and therefore economic development. Like, what is it actually practically useful for in that regard?
Okay, I attended 3 NRZ meetings in the last week. I've attended more, but in the last week, I've attended 3. Syscon, Maple Avenue, and Asylum Hill NRZ. The things I talked about in the beginning, the lead up to the NRZ, about, the illiteracy, the neighborhoods, the poverty. No one knows the community better than the NRZs. Each neighborhood has an NRZ in Hartford. That's one reason why there are so many of them. Because they can actually get into what we talked about yesterday as well. I believe it was yesterday. The granular, getting into the weeds. All right. Now, one NRZ was very concerned about a dog park, which to some may seem silly, but they're aware of it. They're aware of how a new building might impact the community. So when people want to establish something in a community, they have to go before the NRZ and sell it to the community. Now, yesterday, at the time that we're doing this program, yesterday, it's a Friday when we're doing this program. Yesterday, Thursday night, I went to the Maple Avenue NRZ, and there's a guy who has a restaurant who wants to extend his restaurant. And he wants to extend, I think, from what I could gather, the club portion. And many of the neighbors are very upset about the activities associated with the club. Now, it's not his fault, but they're putting that burden on him. Now, whether that burden is his or not is a semi-moot point. He is paying out of his pocket $2,000 a week for officers, Hartford Police Department officers, to help in the security. Now, I say that to say this. It's a part of his business plan. It's part of his business, model to have to pay for security. I guess if you're going to pay for him, you may as well get the best. Get the Hartford Police Department. All right? But it's good that he knows how the neighbors feel. because right now they don't want to give him the okay to expand his business. So they're going to have to sit down, they're going to have to talk, they're going to hash it out. Because if the community is pushing back on something that someone else wants to do, it's never ever going to work. So the NRZ helps to establish this community input, this community oneness. All right. And the NRZs are made up of people in the community, businesses, residents, school. I mean, it's a really valuable tool. It has the ability to take blighted buildings, put those buildings back on the marketplace. There's a lot of talk about the land bank. All right. I don't see the land bank as economic development. I see the land bank as a really nice tool that can be used to take blighted properties and put them back on the tax roll, because the city has a hard time just taking somebody's property. But the NRZs, by statute, have power to move in that realm. They don't need a land bank to do it. All right. So I think that if you have fully functional NRZs that have a staff, at the minimum one person, all right, they can be very, very, very productive. I mean, the land bank has what, 2 staff? Two, I think. I don't think it's more than 3.
Right.
Right. So there's 2 human beings that run that are involved in the land bank. You hear all this stuff about land bank, you think there's a 50-person staff and operation, but it is not. It's 2 people. Well, if they can do what they do with 2 people, imagine what the NRZ can do with 1 paid person and 50 volunteers.
Right. Residents
committed who come not because they're being paid, but because they love their community.
Right.
And given the resources, and have a professional paid staff person who actually is doing the day-to-day work, a 40-hour-a-week work. Not extending 15 hours a week into a 40-hour week job, but doing the real work. And then with the oversight of Hartford Next, the possibilities are just, it's off the chain. It's endless. So I see great opportunity for Hartford, the foundation, the seeds for this economic development to happen, because you've got a coordinated effort that's citywide where the NRZs are working for one Hartford, not 17 fiefdoms or 17 little neighborhoods, but one city that serves 17 unique interests. But the overall interest of all 17 is the welfare and the well-being of the whole.
Right.
And that can only be done with a group like the NRZs. If they didn't exist, we'd have to create it. But like you said in the beginning, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to make sure the wheel is oiled.
That's right. That's right. So that definitely gets at community development and thereby impacting economic development. But the next point in the plan here is talking about smart business growth and how that sort of starts with a business-friendly climate at City Hall.
Yeah. Business-friendly climate at City Hall. That means that City Hall becomes a place that people actually want to go to do business. Right now, people want to avoid it like a plague. It's like, if I have to go through the business of City Hall to get my business done, I'll do my business somewhere other than Hartford. And a lot of people feel that way. There should be a one-stop shop where you could go and get everything done. And the department that does it is there to help you, not work against you.
Right.
Making you aware of the overall vision of the city. Even though your idea is new, the attitude has to shift from that won't work to how can we make it work. We're going to try everything we can to fit your vision into the existing vision. And you're going to be an integral part of that undertaking. Because only when you're an integral part of the undertaking do you understand why it won't work. And that's a conclusion that anybody that's getting ready to do business can come to. Because there's a certain mindset and mentality that the entrepreneur, the business-minded person has. All right? They understand when something's not going to work. You're actually doing them a favor when you show them why it won't. You do them a favor when they discover on their own why it won't. So whatever adjustments are necessary in order to modify their vision so that it fits the overall vision happens. But people they don't get the benefit. I won't say luxury. They don't get the benefit of that kind of leadership and opportunity because people aren't trying to work with them. They're not trying to advocate for them. They're either advocating for what said individual believes is the best interest of the city, and I'll be frank, sometimes themselves. Because it's no shock or surprise, and I'm not blowing anything out of the water by saying that in all too many cases, there's a what's in it for me-ism from the people who are supposed to be helping you. If they don't see a return for themselves,
right,
they're not going to move your agenda forward. And that's sad. But that becomes the way business is done in Hartford. And that has to change. And there's a lot of people who push back on the conversation about that change. Because as quietly as it is kept, it's not like people are against corruption. And what they're against is not having the opportunity to profit from the corruption. So if Johnny is doing well, the 5 people over here are upset with Johnny. All right. They want Johnny out so they could take Johnny's place. They don't want the corruption to stop. They just want to be the main beneficiary of the corruption.
Right.
And this is where a McCauley administration comes in and bristles everybody, because we're going to set the playing field level and everyone's going to play by the rules, and there's going to be transparency. That is a threat to anyone who wants to profit off of the system right now. And so we get pushback. But you have to have a business-friendly place with staff who are there to help you achieve your business goals. That way everybody profits. That way everybody prospers. It's mutually beneficial for all parties involved.
It definitely is a culture and a mindset as well. And it is very deflating when you have to work against a negative mindset or a defeatist mindset when you're trying to start something or get something off the ground.
Absolutely. And I take just a short departure before we go to the next thing. I know somebody in Hartford. This guy's genius. Certified genius. If you look at his CV, it's like pages and pages and pages and pages long. All right. Has a way to save the city tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in electricity and bills. So you don't want to hear from him. Oh, that won't work. How many great ideas, how many great people have the city turned away because they don't want the cost savings, because said cost savings are being swindled and siphoned off to somebody else? That's just a fact of the matter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that everybody knows, right? It's like one of those things in the city that we all talk about in our coffee shops, at Moe's, at Dunkin' Donuts, at Ashley's.
Mm-hmm. Cozy Spot when it was here. Washington Diner when it was here.
Right. We're all having this conversation with one another, and it needs to be addressed and brought out.
Right. And it really does. And look, we're not sending anybody to jail. Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to start afresh. We're not going to go back in time. But starting now, moving forward, that stuff stops.
Right. So, let's keep going, because there are a couple of other areas in the economic and community development plan. And one of them you touched upon a little bit with strengthening the skill sets of Hartford residents when you talked about literacy and education and things like that. But here's an opportunity to just go a little bit further into that regard and why that is an important part of human development.
I think we might have even touched on this a little bit when we were talking about public safety and training our police officers, fire, and also city staff. But our residents should be at the top of the list when it comes to opportunities in Hartford as it relates to construction and trade and the trades. This can be done by working with the Minority Construction Council and other similar organizations. You know, Hartford has a couple of tools. One of the great tools that it has is an ordinance that says, you know, Hartford residents get 15%, 30%, you know, depending upon what that number is. New Haven has a really powerful program where, you know, preference is given to Hartford residents. And, you know, if you have if you're a Hartford-based business or Hartford resident, if you are someone who moves your business to Hartford, you also qualify for this. These kinds of things right now are not being as aggressively implemented as they could be. With the McCauley administration, the rules are the rules are the rules. So, you know, those rules will be applied. I don't see any reason why Hartford residents should not benefit from the opportunities that come to the city. They oughtn't be an afterthought when it comes to, you know, construction and opportunities to benefit and grow the city. You know, there will never be a time when Hartford, well, I shouldn't say Hartford, it won't happen anywhere in the country ever again. What was done in Atlanta with, you know, Hartsfield International Airport, where the mayor at the time made millionaires out of construction. You know, generally speaking, black millionaires and you know, quote unquote black and brown millionaires off of this construction effort. So the rules and the laws have changed to such a way where that won't happen. But there is no reason why the majority population of the city of Hartford is left out. Because people often talk about set-asides for the minority population in Hartford. That is a ludicrous mindset when you consider that the minority population in Hartford is not black and brown. The majority population in Hartford is black and brown. So if we're going to talk about minority set-asides in Hartford, technically, they would be non-black and brown people, of which there's only 15%. So in all this wordsmithing in order to protect interests of certain people, and everybody understands that, you know, let's just keep it real. But there shouldn't be benefit at the expense of everyone else. Mutual benefit. How can everybody prosper? And that requires leadership at City Hall that treats everybody the same equally. Not by a promise, but by a commitment that is backed up with actual receipts. And I would contend that those are receipts that I have that no other candidate running has. Because my receipts go back 30 years.
Yeah, I think the pathways also for bringing more people into the trades need to be strengthened as well. So the opportunities to obtain your license, plumbing license, electrical license, like all of those pathways, strengthening those avenues to get a pool of applicants who are ready to fill those positions.
Yeah. And those things have to be done strategically, and they need to be thought out, because there are a lot of trade and training opportunities. But the problem is, many times the only one that benefits, we talk about path to impact here a lot. The path to impact, if the path to impact is the young man that lives in the South End or the West End or the North End as a Hartford young person, if the path to impact is them getting a job in the trades, then that path shouldn't be interrupted by the trainer receiving all of the benefit from the money spent. Because if no job comes, then the only person that benefited was the trainer per se, or the training organization, or the training industrial complex. Meanwhile, the people who are being trained aren't getting, so you take a course in how to maintain sewer or water treatment, or in welding, or in masonry, or in asbestos removal. And then once you get done the training, there's no job for you. So we need to be intelligent with our training. And one of the ways to do that, of course, would be to have a trades school here in the city, where people could go learn to trade, and then the apprenticeship would start alongside of one of the contractors that's able to get a job because of the minority set-asides. All right. And I know many might try to make the argument, well, we don't need minority set-asides at this time. Oh, actually we do, because we don't have any minorities doing the work. All right. And then the argument, well, there aren't enough, that we can't find enough. Well, if you can't find enough, that means that there aren't enough. So, no matter what argument you put up, there needs to be training, and there needs to be those opportunities, and there needs to be enforcement. The other side of that picture is there's no enforcement, and the enforcement can't come from the people who are supposed to be, playing by the rules. You can't do your own quality assurance. So that's something that the city of Hartford is going to have to do, since the city of Hartford is the one that is imposing that rule on people who want to come here and do business. And this is not counterproductive. This helps to reduce the poverty in Hartford. Remember, we're talking about economic and community development. So we want to reduce the poverty in Hartford. Once we start to reduce that poverty, it then becomes very productive. It's mutually beneficial, because Hartford becomes less burdensome on tax dollars from the state and more self-sufficient and reliant on fiscal resources that come from the actual people who live here. You can't have a large portion of the population always in a state of need,
right,
where their hand is always out, and no one's doing anything to change that. So poverty has to be attacked. We have to aggressively attack the roots of poverty and what continues to sustain poverty. And that means there's going to be a paradigm shift, because there's a lot of people in this city who make their living off of managing the poverty.
And that happens within the city, but it extends outward into the region as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I say in the city, I don't necessarily mean city residents. I mean people who come into the city to make a profit off of the poverty in the city. And that has to stop.
Yeah. Here's another area in your plan that doesn't really see the light of day often. So it may be a new area that people are unaware of, but the procurement process in the city, and procurement is the what the city buys. The city has to buy things from vendors. And this area here about do business with the city, is talking a little bit about that. So what are your thoughts around this untapped area of the city business?
I know the Hartford Public Schools buys a lot of things from local vendors, like the food stuff. But anybody that does business in the city would be eligible to be the people we reach out to first. If we do look at the schools, there was an article in the paper this week talking about, I think it's $190 billion was spent during COVID on education. Went to schools. And most of that money was spent on tech ed, or ed tech. And so folks were going out of the city, not just in Hartford, but all over the country, to firms who were entrepreneurial. They didn't even have a track record, coming up with all kinds of ways to do tutoring, to do distance learning. I bet, why didn't they seek to do these things in the city with Hartford residents first? And we're talking about Hartford Public Schools. You talk about Glastonbury Public Schools or West Hartford Public Schools. Why not be local? I mean, if all of these schools did this stuff locally, then the money that came here would have stayed here, would have circulated. There are plenty of smart people in every town who could come up with ideas and ways to do distance learning. So some of the resources that went out could be in. So no matter what it is, procurement of cars, whether it's fuel, whether it's street maintenance, snow removal, maintenance on garages, anything that the city does that are legitimate services. All right, except the toilet paper. Legitimate service. We're not talking about derailing anybody's legacy here. All right, just keep it real, right?
Well, yes,
But
keep
they're
going.
local. They're a perfect example of local support.
Exactly. They are. But here's the thing with this too. There's enough for everybody.
There you go. We can all eat.
Right.
You get 16,000 gallons of ice cream and you eat 1 pint a week. Share some of it with somebody, right? But all of the things that are done here in Hartford, there's no reason why Hartford businesses can't get the lion's share of the monies Hartford spends. If it can't be supplied by a Hartford business, then we move out. But the first order of business should be to do business with Hartford-based businesses. Seem reasonable?
Seems reasonable.
Maybe some of those businesses, maybe people will actually move into the city so they can relocate their business so that they can take advantage of the amount of money that Hartford spends, which means that they will more than likely want to hire local Hartford residents. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and these are just low-hanging. This is low-hanging fruit.
That's right. So there's one other area, but before we kind of wrap it up and go into that, I know that you have an idea for film, television, and media that's not here, but I've heard you talk about it before, and I know it's in your head. And so I'm going to take personal point of privilege and talk
as host of the show.
And talk a little bit about that, because I think it ties into this area of economic and community development. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to share a few words about how film, television, and media is also like an untapped area or market or opportunity for the city.
It is totally untapped, and it is a tremendous opportunity for the city. Now, this isn't the first time that, I mean, this is a long-standing idea that I have had for a long time. It goes way back to Hollywood East with Jim Amon when he was Speaker of the House, and him wanting to do, have the tax credits and all those things. But as long as I have been seeking to serve the citizens of Hartford from the mayor's chair, if you will, I've always thought that a great way to bring revenue into the city is the creation of content. We even wanted to do content, and it's not when I say we, I don't mean Stan wanted to produce this stuff. I see this stuff being produced as valuable. So one of the things that was talked about and floated as an idea was educational content, where you'd make literally education rock stars. They'd be on the same pedestal as a Beyonce or something like that, because they would have educational products that met the standards of the education community, and you could access those remotely. Well, had those things been done when we first started talking about them, they would all have been online and ready when the pandemic hit. That's how forward thinking the ideas were. You also create a community of individuals who do production. All right, because it's difficult to have a Hollywood East or any type of production without the resources necessary. So you're going to need editors, you're going to need set designers, set builders, writers, all the things that go into creating content. Recording studios, virtual recording studios, television studios, virtual television studios, green screen studios. And there are plenty of tracts of land right now in Hartford, particularly up along Homestead Avenue, where all of this could be done. There's money in the pipeline waiting for opportunities to do studios of this kind of caliber in urban settings. So Hartford's a perfect place for it right now. And I've had conversations with several people along this line. It's not something that can move forward unless you have the right vision in a key position like mayor. But these things can actually happen. You've got University of Hartford that's right down the street. So their film, their production, and their media outlet, not to mention Capital Community College, which is right here in Hartford. And then you've got the Journalism and Media Academy School. You have the School of the Performing Arts. So we have a lot of already established entities. You've got the Artist Collective. All right, you got the Hart School of Music. I mean, I go on and on and on. There are major record producers and television producers and movie producers in Connecticut and in the greater Hartford area that leave here weekly to go to New York, to go to California, to go to Atlanta, to do their daily business. They would love to do something in Connecticut, but Connecticut is too narrow-minded. Well, I say we bring all that stuff here in Hartford. I could go on for hours and lay out that plan, but obviously we don't have time. But that would be one way to do, just like, kind of like kickstart an economic development opportunity. That's just my vision, or what I would do if the burden was set upon me and me alone. That's what I would do. I'm just one of 120,000 people here. Those ideas are a dime a dozen throughout Hartford. And once again, the problem isn't a lack of ideas. The problem is an unwillingness on the part of the elected officials to work with the real individuals that are the government of Hartford, which is the constituent. It's their government. It's not mine. I'm applying for the job. The interview happens November the 7th. Now, there's some people running around like they already got the job without the interview. But the interview is November the 7th. I'm applying to be mayor of Hartford. The only people that can give me that job are the residents.
Yeah, no, I love that. And when you talk about it, I see so many opportunities that like you said, you just not enough even time to go into all of the avenues and opportunities. But one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is that there have been, I guess I really just want to press upon or make a point, because there have been multiple opportunities where like Hartford, right? And there was all this money came into the city for young people to do recording. There's a recording studio over at the Boys and Girls Club, brand new recording studio at the Boys and Girls Club over on Ledyard. There's little pockets of things like that, but what they're missing is that sort of driver behind them. Like, so they're one-offs that don't have any coordination or path to impact. There's no path to impact for that recording studio over on Boys and Girls Club. So while it is fully equipped and operational and the kids can come in and utilize it, it's lacking a key ingredient. There's no path forward to take it anywhere. How does that young person then move through that opportunity? And so what I hear, what you're bringing to the table as mayor is providing those pathways of impact. Like, this can become something much greater. It has so much potential if you had another element. Like, it needs a force multiplier.
Right.
And that's what I hear in what you're bringing, and as the office of the mayor can do this. And what the city of Hartford has been missing is the office of the mayor that's trying to work with them.
Against them.
Not against them. Your mayor has been working against y'all. But what you're bringing is the opportunity to work with people and to be that catalyst. They have the idea.
Yeah, what you're saying brings to mind an idea and a notion that most of the people that run for the office are trying to get their hands on the existing pot of money and the monies that they can see coming here, that they know will come here. They want to control that rather than to understand, well, that's here. How do you get more of it from other places? And the best way to do that is to take the ideas of the people who actually live here and have a vested interest in the common success of us all. All right. And not, someone else coming to the table to eat a piece of pie that you think isn't big enough. So that people become very greedy, they become myopic, they become insulated, and they become protective of something, one, that isn't theirs. And how can I profit off of every little tiny opportunity that comes and cut everyone else out? And that's the attitude that we have had year after year after year after year after year after year after year. And it's not working, and Hartford is being driven into the ground. And until there is new dynamic leadership and a willingness on the part of the people for change that's going to be beneficial to them, we're going to continue in the same direction. There are so many opportunities for dynamic growth in Hartford that can be put on paper, not rhetoric and headspace, just babbling off at the mouth. These are real, solid, actionable, shovel ready, if you will, ideas that can and will work, and you can create an industry. The bicycle industry was created with Pope, Pratt and Whitney back in the early days, the typewriter, all of the things that were created in this community, in this state, in this region. We can do that once again. Content creation, there will never be enough content, because once you see it, it's done. Now what? We have an extremely large Spanish-speaking population in Hartford. It's the number one population in Hartford. Well, 6 o'clock at night, it's time for the novellas to come on. So imagine if those novellas, if there was a whole series of new novellas that were produced, shot, and distributed from Hartford. That's just one genre. The educational genres. there's an amazing opportunity to do great things in the city if people are willing to take the chance and trust their own conscience. They already know what to do. Do they trust themselves in making the choice? That's really what it comes down to.
That is what it comes down to. And I think that's a good place to leave it. So we're going to wrap this series by asking all of you to check out more at McCauleyforMayor.com. This is the path to impact, realigning city priorities in order to advance and move the city of Hartford forward. So I have had the pleasure of talking to J. Stan McCauley, who is running for mayor here in the city of Hartford, and also happens to be my husband, which I'm extremely proud of as well. But check out all of the other episodes if you missed them. We go point by point and bringing to life what's written there on the page. And we welcome your comments and your questions. But Jay Stan, I think that's a wrap. Any final thoughts?
No. Just vote row 1H for One Hartford. 1H on November the 7th. If you do your voting before then, it's still 1H, J. Stan McCauley, because, there's the absentee ballots.
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure you or a family member carries them in, right? That's the state law, I think.
That's right.
People
That's right.
getting in trouble down in Bridgeport going to jail soon. So
not a good look.
yeah, it's not worth going to jail for.
No.
All right, and there's cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras everywhere. Yeah. Don't
do that. But what you can do, Tuesday, November 7th, if you need help identifying your polling location, please give us a call, 860-944-9797. Drop us a comment, email, message, whatever. If you don't know where your polling location is, we'll help you out with that. If you need a ride, or if you need a companion or a friend or a reminder, we are here for you. We're here for Hartford. Tuesday, November 7th. It is your time, Hartford. It is your time. And I mean that in all sincerity. It actually is your time to win. And J. Stan McCauley is the candidate to move it all forward. So 1H, J. Stan McCauley, Tuesday, November 7th. Until then, Hartford, be well.
What happens in the voting booth stays in the voting booth. Even if someone wheels you up to the polling station after buying your groceries or pays you by the hour to door knock, you can still vote like an independent thinker. Vote like you're demanding better police accountability. Vote like you're demanding functioning schools that put Hartford children first. Vote like you're demanding your mayor puts Hartford residents and neighborhoods first. Vote like Hartford's government belongs to you, the constituent. Because to the party, you are just a vote. However, to me, you are a constituent, my boss, and I work for you. So when you go into the voting booth, have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for a man you can trust to be accountable to you, the constituents of Hartford. My name is J. Stan McCauley. I am an independent thinker and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, November the 7th, 2023, in the general election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyforMayor.com. And remember, what happens in the voting booth stays in the voting booth. It's your time, Hartford, so have the courage to trust your conscience and vote for the name you know and trust.
Hey, Hartford, Connecticut, I'm talking to you. We gotta get out and vote. Vote for Stan McCauley. It's our time. We gotta rise up and take it back. Vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah.
It's more than politics than just what your social covers. And it ain't somewhere written down in bold letters. Don't just take my word for it, do your research. Think of your future, look at your bigger picture. Shooting tie, clean up, unity for the righteous. Plotting on action, hands on access. With a light source vision, door to door knocking. Guerrilla style marketing, brainstorm as a collective. Real neighborhood suggestions. Only we know what it is where we living. To make real life decisions. Move on facts, make it manifest back.
You gotta vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah. Look at your city. Stop. Take a look around. Is opportunity flow into your house? Are you working? Wait, can you save some money? And is your neighborhood safe? Or is it a homicide every night?
Senior. Many of you may know me as the two-time welterweight champion of the world. I'm here to tell you that Democrat J. Stan McCauley, as our next mayor, will fight for you until the last bell. Help me throw a knockout punch. Go out and vote for Stan the man.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I approve this message.